Hello, everyone, and welcome to our hour together. Self-harm, negative self-talk versus positive self-talk with Sharon Shaw. Sharon, a warm welcome to Online Events. It's lovely to have you here with us for, I guess we've got several events today on the topic of self-harm, really spending some time thinking about how we can take care of the people that we take care of, and perhaps even taking better care of ourselves, which is always
completely,
so important. And a warm welcome to everybody who's joining us live here in Zoom or in Facebook. And I guess you might be watching this in the library. So if you're in the future, you don't have the option to ask a question or put a comment in the chat room, but we're really pleased to have you with us as well. So thank you for your presence. To get started, Sharon, we usually ask you to say a little bit about yourself, to tell us a little bit about where you are and the kind of things that you're doing. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, well, nearly 3 years ago, I finished 5 years of study, obviously in integrative psychotherapy work, looking at different theories and practices as well. And then after the 5 years, me and my ex-partner split up at the time. And at that point in time, I was obviously dealing a lot emotionally and mentally, you know, with regards to the breakup, because we've been together nearly 14, 15 years. So I'd stayed with, there was an incident where I had an intuitive knowing that something wasn't right and he might have been cheating on me. So I stayed with that knowing, and basically it was right. And it really empowered me to start listening to this knowing. I'd had this knowing quite a lot of times in my life, but I didn't really understand it, or, you know, I thought it was weird, or I was too deep, or there was something, you know. So I sort of listened to it sometimes, but not. So at that point, I decided I was going to listen to this, you know, and sit with myself. I suppose it's like a meditation where you're meditating a little bit. I did, and I started to understand myself more in regards to within my relationship, you know, at the time, of how I was feeling and what I was thinking, which obviously all interlinked with all the personal development that I'd done.
Yes. So you were on that journey, I guess, of really hearing yourself. And this sounds like there was a new level that you were opening yourself to.
Completely. Yeah, completely. Yeah. So, and because obviously I had my own personal counselling as well, and I'd carried on with that because through all my past trauma, I really wanted to have a deep understanding of how that was still affecting me in the present now from past. Even though I knew I'd healed, because when me and my ex-partner split up, I wasn't dealing with past stuff. Past stuff wasn't coming back up. I was just dealing with me and him and what I was experiencing, you know, in this present time. So, so there was a lot of different things that I was experiencing from that breakup of me internally and understanding myself and sitting with myself, and also to look deeper into other things. Now things were interlinking into past. So even though I was healing, thoughts were interlinking, you know, negative thoughts that I was becoming more aware of. So I developed an awful lot of self-awareness through all the studies that I'd done, and through obviously my private counselling that I was having as well at that time. So that was when I decided that I was going to take time and write everything out that I'd previously experienced, because I wanted a deeper understanding. I wanted to understand my development, you know, how I'd moved, how I'd behaved, you know, my emotions, my thoughts. I didn't want to move without moving with happiness. You know, I felt happier that I obviously healed, but I wanted to feel free, and I didn't feel free still. So there was still a lot of fear that I was carrying from past that I really wanted to have a deeper insight and deeper knowing of how that was interlinking and how to undo it. And my intuition was telling me to write books, to write.
And that's how the book has emerged for you then. Like, you've written your story
Yeah.
and the things that have helped you and haven't been so helpful also.
Yeah. To be honest, just writing the book, there's been so much learning in it. You know, of obviously I've told my story that many times to different people and different parts of my story to different people if I didn't feel safe enough to open up fully. But with my counsel, obviously I built that safe place and that safer interaction to tell the whole story too. But even by writing out that my whole story has shocked part of me of how much that intuition was already there and kept telling me different things, but I didn't listen to it. I had nobody around me to understand or to tell me what that was. People want spiritual around me, or they didn't believe in God or anything like that. So and even the language itself is really an academic language, or a scientific language that people around me didn't have knowledge of.
Yeah, and maybe stuff that you could feel or hear in your body, maybe it wasn't so welcomed in the environment that you were in.
No, it was, whenever I was younger, and I would disclose sometimes, what my intuition would say about life or what I were experiencing or other people or what I could pick up on, my responses that I would get was, I'm weird, I'm deep, and everything. So when I actually did follow my heart and go to university and obviously start studying like psychotherapy and everything else, it was like going home to me. It was like, oh my God, these people are like me.
Wow.
My family wasn't like me. And now I understand that, and I understand why I'm different to them because of all the different experiences I've had in life. That has made me deeper. It's made me ask those deeper questions of why, what's happened to me, and to have those deeper feelings, and also to look deeper in order for safety. We're being sexually abused at such a young age. I now believe that my brain was developed to strip things, to in order to be safe. So I'd look deeper to understand what was behind them, or what they were doing, or what they how they were moving, and would that hurt me or.
So your brain became really well developed to analyze what was going on in the environment and to really work out who you have in front of you. Are they safe? Are they not safe?
Yeah, definitely. But I believe I got stuck in that. So I got stuck in my own mind of just analysing, So because of the different experiences, so obviously, if I look back now, so at 6 years old I was sexually abused. At 8-year-old, I lost my best friend to cancer. At 9 years old, my family split up and I lost the extended family. At 10, the first abuse I've disclosed about, people around me changed because it was society at that point in time of sexual abuse. They didn't understand it at all. And
so you got a really difficult reaction to disclosing.
As a child, I was sensing all this, but didn't have the language to explain what I was experiencing from people. Friends weren't allowed to play with me no more. That kind of thing, and how to sort of understand all that in myself. So I was developing, my brain was obviously developing really fast in regards to trying to analyse and be where I were, but emotionally, I had nowhere safe to explore all those emotions that I were experiencing at the same time as well.
So that makes sense to me. Your brain is like it's in the gym. It's getting really stronger and stronger because they're using it so much. But such a young body doesn't have the capacity to hold. No. And the human body's trauma is not to be held, is it? It shouldn't be happening to us. You'd had a lot by the time you were 10.
Yeah, and at that time, then from 10, my mum's ex-partner his interaction started to change with us, where he became, quite verbally abusive, or would attack me because I was an emotional child. I would express my emotion, but he would attack my emotion and call me a drama queen or a baby, but he would create it with what he was doing, in his behaviour, what he was doing, and then attack me for showing it. So I was holding, so I'd learned to hold it in and try and hide. My mum was always the safe person that I could show my emotion to, but because he was within the family and within our home, and he wouldn't do it necessarily when my mum, you know, so it wouldn't, his interactions wouldn't be as abusive while my mum was there.
Yeah.
It would be when she wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I literally, so I was developing, obviously, mentally and stripping people, but then emotionally, my experience was teaching me to close down, you know, not to show it because it wasn't safe.
Yeah.
Because it would build that, obviously, the other experiences really, and of it as well. Yeah,
like you've got both things going on at the same time, and it sounds like that's the man in the household was like triggering big emotions and then attacking them. Like that's very, very difficult and abusive. So
yeah, completely. And so there was that progressed, and then obviously at 13 I was sexually abused again by a friend of the family. Okay. So in a way, from being so young, I've been in depthness. You know, I've been in this hidden world that people are doing things but aren't showing it to others. But I'm experiencing it, and how can I show that to anybody else? I ain't got the language for a start.
Yeah.
You know, and will people believe me? Because they didn't. You know, when I came out about the first abuse, society wasn't where it. You know, it would listen to children, and you know, it was easier to blame the child or say the child was lying or, you know, made it up than an adult that everybody around them has loved them. You know, this adult was massive in you know, in society, of family and everything else. So hang on a minute, you know, in that adult's brain, they're thinking, well, we can't be right, we can't be wrong. You know what I mean? This child must be wrong. So yeah, it was very, very difficult.
Yeah, and it sounds, well, a nightmare for you at that age. And was self-harm was that a strategy you've used to kind of help yourself or to survive?
I didn't actually self-harm. What I think, looking back, I think I was very lucky in the fact that I used other mediums, but I didn't realise what I was using at the time. So I would go to the park by myself and sing, you know, when nobody was around or anything like that. So I'd sing and cry, and you know, and I don't understand what I'm experiencing. I would drama at school. So I'd use a bit like something pushed me to do drama. And looking back now, what drama was doing was it was allowing me to have a release, but in safety of pretending to be, you know, within these characters. So the emotion and everything else that I was experiencing was coming out from me, but within these characters. Diary. I can remember my sister wrote a diary, and again, something must have pushed me in order to write a diary. So I started writing a diary. At some points, it wasn't safe for me to write in there because my mum's ex-partner read what I put about him, so we would find, you know what I mean? So I would start to use codes or things that, you know, people wouldn't know what I was talking about, but, you know, to me, I did. And for me, what that did, it gave me an outlet. Now, looking back, it gave me an outlet for me to be able to see me, for me to be able to, you know, to see the emotions and to see the thoughts of me, really. So I think that gave me definitely massive outlet. I didn't realise at the time. And play was massive. Playing, definitely.
And what do you mean by that? Like, what kind of playing, or what? Yeah,
playing with friends. You know, of being that baddie. You know, of having control. Of having, you know, of being that you know, that not so nice parent. You know, who's shouting and thinking, but it's safe in play because it's not real. You know, you're being able to connect with those emotions and those thoughts, but we know we're all playing. You know, we know we're not intentionally doing that to hurt each other. But within that, what was hidden was me being able to express and to explore. I didn't obviously understand that at the time.
Right, you wouldn't know that that's what's happening, but somehow, I guess, your body, your mind is...
Innateness was coming out that way. I would say that at 18, it became dysfunctional because at 18, the second abuse came out. that I disclosed about. So I was dealing with that, plus obviously all the other trying to figure out, what had happened to me. Plus I had so many negative thoughts that I'd developed. It's got to be my fault. Why are all these adults wanting to hurt me? It must be me. I'm not good enough, and everything else. And because I'd experienced so much trauma, it was like bang, 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 and it not having nobody safe around me to be able to understand it or explore it. I got stuck in just seeing those negative people. Do you know what I mean? Those people that were hurting me, not anybody who was safe, because I didn't really know who was safe other than my mum.
Yeah.
So at 18, I obviously would start going out drinking, and again then drink. So self-harm was drink. Drink became a release. And at probably 13, 14, really, I started to drink on the streets, and what have you, which again was a release. I was crying because I was drunk, not because there was anything wrong with me.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. So I guess you would get drunk, you would start to cry, and then you would just say it's the alcohol, but actually it was the trauma.
Yeah. It was all the other things, definitely. And it was all interlinked. And then it became dysfunctional to a point of, it was like a build-up of where I was breaking down when I was getting drunk. That I remember dancing on the dance floor and just stopping and crying and absolutely really breaking down. That obviously my friend who I'd disclosed to, were trying to protect me and said she's all right, so other friends would come around and say, what's the matter, you all right? No, she's fine. And then it would get to a point where then I would project out onto the men. Do you know what I mean? When I was drunk. So I would go around town and tease a guy and then look him straight in his eye and say, you've got no chance, and walk away. So this anger, the pain and everything else was coming out, but in a dysfunctional way, onto other people.
Yeah. So it was really impacting how you were relating to the people around you, or you might find strangers to relate to, and just, that innateness is doing something with all the pain that's inside you.
Yeah. And but obviously it's dangerous of that way. It could have gone where then I'm, the guys who could have responded to me could have responded in a real dysfunctional way, of attacking me back or anything, or I could have really damaged them because I don't know their story. So then the next day when I'd sober up, I'd remember some of the night, but then again I'd attack myself again. It was it's like this vicious cycle of needing the release, but then when I had the release, I shouldn't have released it. Thinking, so I'm attacking myself. I'm weak. I'm no good, and there's something wrong with me. I'm evil. All the things that I've taken and that I've heard from other people or I've taken, but again didn't understand what I'd taken. What I'd taken on from in thoughts.
Yeah. So those negative thoughts and negative self-talk would become more and more intense.
Yeah, and build and get stronger and stronger, because obviously the experiences kept happening. So the negative thoughts were getting stronger. It's got to be me. There's something wrong with me. There's got to be me. It's I'm too deep. I'm weird. All those kind of thoughts were just building, getting stronger and stronger, which would then duplicate the emotion in me, which would then need to come out in another way. So it was like this cycle that I was trapped in for a long time, really.
So the only way that you could get a release actually was making the emotions build up even more. Like you ended up with more pain and more negative self-talk.
Which would then build the emotion, and then there'd be a release, and then I'd crucify myself. I shouldn't be doing that. What am I doing? Then it would build the emotion, the negative thoughts again. It's my fault. And then the emotions. So it was like this vicious cycle that were going round and round and round. My release came. I think I was really lucky in the fact that so again, an innateness in me told me I needed to get away. I needed to have a new life. Do you know what I mean, in a way, and that there was an opportunity for me to go to Butlins. So I moved. So basically, I was out of that environment. My environment was, where I couldn't get away from where I'd been abused. Do you know what I mean? Where, you know, from my mum's partner, you know, he was still there, and you know, and from all the other experience that I'd experienced, it was surrounded in my environment, and I couldn't get away. But when I went to Butlins, it was like I had a break. It was like
So you went there to work? Is that?
Yeah, I went there to work. Yeah,
and that gets you out the environment with a whole new set of people, and
yes,
and that made a difference.
Yeah, massively. It was like I could breathe. It was, you know, it was just like I'd moved into a new life where and especially when nobody knew me. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not, because I think it's everybody else's thoughts as well. You know, what they were thinking, and you know, it was around at that time, whereas nobody knew my past. So in a way, I could run away from it for a little while, which gave me a break from that. But obviously, my past would come back up.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. You know, those emotions are going to interlink in new experiences.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. When we go somewhere else, we have to take ourselves. Yeah. We come with us, don't we? And how we relate to people, how we manage our emotions, and
yeah. So it was. You know, eventually it started to interlink again, and those emotions started to build again. You know, and what have you. And I had and drugs, you know, was another thing that I attached to. Again, I believe because I did carry on writing diaries, I had a good self-awareness at that time. So I can remember saying to my friend, I feel like I'm getting addicted to this, you know, and I need to stop taking it. And she was like, oh no, you can't get addicted. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stop taking it. And I stopped taking it, but everybody else around us were fading away. So I was, again, very lucky the fact that, again, at this time, I didn't realise how much the diaries did for me, but it helped me to see me. It helped me to reflect, to keep reflecting, and what am I doing, and am I happy? You know, why? I wonder why I'm doing that. So I'm asking these questions.
Yeah, and like you had a strength, an internal inner strength that allowed you to know that it wasn't okay, and to actually manage to stop.
Yeah, definitely. I think probably because I was, you know, because my brain had developed to be so analytical. You know, I were breaking stuff down anyway. Do you know what I mean? And wondering why. So I think that helped me. You know, my analysis helped me to see what I was doing, and I think the diaries helped me to see me. It was me, you know, that I was doing it.
Yeah.
And what have you. So I do think that process all helped me in order to sort of do a bit of a self-development, even though at the time I didn't realise that I was doing it.
Yeah, like that's not how you were thinking about it, but it was what was happening. Yeah, that makes sense. And I can see, Sharon, some comments coming in from colleagues who are watching. Is it all right just to pause for a minute? And just a couple of things. So thanks to the colleagues who are typing away. A response to what you were saying earlier about like a gut instinct, and there's like really valuing that, but it can be a challenge to choose to listen to that.
Completely.
So a colleague really resonating with what you're saying about
especially when people are around you, you know, who don't listen to their own intuition.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, luckily enough with my, obviously when me and my ex-partner split, and I had an intuition, and I said to him, you know, there's somebody else involved, and he was like, no, it's, you know, you want it to be about somebody else, so it's not about you. And so then I started questioning, is it me then? Am I insecure? I moved to speak to obviously people who were close to me, saying this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm you know, I think's happening. This is what my intuition is saying. That they, you know, the people, because they didn't listen to them, were going, no, you're insecure. He wouldn't do that again, because he'd done it 6 years before. He wouldn't do that again. And it was my mum that I went to, and she went his church as. And it wasn't until, so, excuse me, I had this knowing, but I had no proof. But it was telling me to search. So I started to search to try and obviously find, because obviously everybody else would just think, you know, I'm being insecure and it's me and there's something, you know, wrong with me. So when I started searching, I couldn't find anything. I was outside, and I had this churning in my stomach again. And I just said to myself, I know what you're telling me, but I've got no proof. Everybody's going to think I'm insecure. And with that, I just thought, I'm going to look in his van. And I looked in his van and found the second phone. And that was so empowering. The fact that I'd stayed with myself, do you know what I mean? And I'd not, so I believed that I knew what you were, what I was, it was saying, but I couldn't have no proof. But I then found the proof, so I didn't give in, and I found the proof, and it was like so empowering that I'd stayed with me. That nobody moved me against me.
Such an important moment. I mean, I guess it had an impact on your relationship, but such an important moment for you and you believing in yourself.
Because I see this now, because I was so young when sexual abuse happened, and obviously because of other people's experiences, and how they were behaving around me, made me at that point question myself. And for me, it developed a split. Where I was always challenging, questioning myself that I'm wrong, and that these adults are right, and I'm wrong, but actually I wasn't. But I believe it's like that sort of thing of an imbalance of power. These adults are there to protect us, and we're supposed to be there to protect us, but the adults that are around me didn't. Do you know what I mean? Not the ones, obviously, except for them.
And like an important developmental process that the child comes to trust themselves. And that wasn't happening for you. In fact, the opposite. And it can be really disturbing for us when we feel something so clearly and people in the environment are telling us the opposite. A bit like what your ex-partner was doing, I guess. It can make us feel like we're going crazy or something. Actually.
Completely. Definitely. And you then come back to yourself and question yourself, and it's not. And then what I were doing though, so at 6 years old, I had a sense that something was going to happen, but wouldn't be very nice. And then obviously that happened. Then it obviously with the second abuse, again, I had a sense that something, I wasn't safe around him, but physically nothing was showing me that. People loved him. These adults loved him. He was interacting, and so I just thought it was me, and there was something wrong with me because, of what had happened before. So because I didn't listen to myself, then when it did happen, I then crucified myself for not listening to myself.
Okay, yes,
So
because you did have the data, you knew, like you could feel there was something wrong. But and I guess this is because of the environment you're in, you then blame yourself. You take it on yourself. Right?
It's my fault, and I shouldn't have. I couldn't have really done much anyway. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously everybody probably would have thought at that time that I wasn't. I was a bit weird. They believed me. I've got this sense that they love him, and and he's fine with them, and I'm this child, and I've got this sense, but and
that's a really important thing to catch for children, that even with that sense as a child in the environment, they're really powerless to do anything.
Because it's having the language and also the power for people to see you. If that actually, it's not listening to the child, isn't it? It's and because the children are developing and everything else. Do you know what I mean? That they're learning to manipulate, they're learning to do this, but actually, that child, that beneath that child is very intuitive, and very in tune with deeper senses, I think.
Oh, there's some more responses from colleagues. A colleague saying that they work as a drama therapist, and all the things that you're describing around play and around writing, I guess they're really valuable tools in that work. So resonating with the things, like, it's really interesting. Somehow, somewhere in you knew, like your body knew these things were helpful, even though you weren't understanding it in the way that you do now. But
completely. I know there wasn't really anybody around me that was creative. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't that I was wanting to be being creative or anything like that. But I think there are invaluable tools that help people express themselves when they haven't got the language. So I think, for children, for me, I advocate play therapy. It's a child's language. They're developing cognitively and they haven't got the language. Us adults find it very difficult to find the language.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get children to talk to us, but hang on a minute, you can't.
Yeah, yeah. Like saying to an adult, "Oh, how do you feel about that?" can be so challenging to then ask a child that question. Yeah. So all these ways, and it's amazing that you discovered that when they weren't in your environment. That these are not things that the adults around you were helping you do.
Yeah,
amazing.
I think. It just felt. I think because I was so. I feel. Do you know what I mean? I felt a lot, so it felt right, I suppose, and that's what would move me. It felt right.
Yeah, yeah, and I can see another colleague resonating with what you're saying, and they're talking about having on their Facebook profile that the most difficult phase of life is not when no one understands you; it's when you don't understand yourself.
Completely.
Okay. Yeah.
Completely. Now the books have been phenomenal for that, because that's what's, I think that's what my intuition were telling me, was that I needed to be able to see my whole story, in order to see me, in order to understand me. And then, so the first book is my story, but my second book is me breaking down all my fears and interlinking it to when I first took those thoughts on. So to give you an example of that,
okay, yeah.
when I went, obviously, my heart, I knew I wanted to study psychotherapy. A fear was I'm not going to be any good at it. I'm not academic. I'm not clever enough. And I was trying to search for a way in order to study without having to go to university. There obviously wasn't any other way. So I managed to push myself, and I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll start off at college first, in order just to test that there first, and then before I go to university. So I did, and that was, for me, it was like a little stepping stone in order to build my confidence up. Again, I sort of knew, that I needed that a bit more confidence, but I wasn't aware of how important that was in order for me to carry on with the process. So when I went to university, and I was frightened, obviously, and I was going, and I was thinking, I'm not going to be any good. I'm not going to achieve the same as everybody else. I acknowledged that obviously I was frightened, and I was frightened of failing. Of what happens if I fail? Everybody's going to think, oh, you failed and what have you. But then another part of myself was saying, no, it's important to try. To not try is to fail. And that would push me to keep going. And then the more that I went, and obviously I was learning the theories and his mind and obviously his thoughts. Then what I did is I wondered why I had that fear in the first place. Why, because my experiences were then showing that I was getting good grades. So then it was, my experience was challenging those thoughts of going, well, why did I think that I wouldn't do very well in the first place? And obviously it was with regards to my results at school, but it also linked back to, I had a memory of, my dad was a miner, my mum was from Coventry, so they had different life experiences. Do you know what I mean? My dad was quite insular of, everybody followed on and you went to pit and, and that was the job you were going to do. And whereas my mum had a more of an open experience of life. Do you know what I mean? That actually it was more open, that she could achieve really whatever she wanted to achieve. And I can remember being a child and my dad saying, us Shaws aren't clever, us Shaws, we're grafters. Now my dad didn't say that in order for us not to become clever. That was how my dad obviously spoke to himself of the reason why he didn't do well at school. As a child, I wanted to be like my dad in some way, because I was very much like my mum, and I took that on as I'm going to be a grafter like my dad, not realizing how that would impact me in my life in regards to academia and and my own belief about myself of what I could achieve. So that was real powerful and empowering for me to see that and to know that.
And what was the impact of, that sounds like it was a huge realization. And how did it impact you, Sharon?
Oh, it just opened my, well, I've written a book. You know what I mean?
Okay, there's the answer. There is the answer. You've written two books, I guess.
I have written 2 books. I'm on the 3rd one. So I wouldn't, no way would I have believed that I was going to write a book. I'm a miner's daughter, from Skeller, and didn't do very well at school. So because I acknowledged that, that just inspired me then to look at all my other fears and to interlink it to all my past and the memories and everything else of what I've taken on as a child in order to undo, which has been a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal experience.
Well, I guess you were then maybe identifying other parts of your life that you were limiting because of these early messages. And like, it sounds like with your dad, he wasn't trying to do something unhelpful, but it creates a message that somehow keeps you smaller or keeps you in a particular way.
Yeah.
And you've been able to open those up. Wow.
Yeah. And it for me it is our mindset of what we, who's around us and how open they are to how much we can be as much open, and see the possibilities that are there, and again, it's not there for me. It's not their fault. It's not my parents' fault. It's not people around, who was around me. It's what they've been brought up to obviously think. And because of lack of self-awareness, which is why I think self-awareness is so important, because you can start to see yourself. You can start to look at those thoughts and emotions, and what have you. And it's a process. And the more you do it, the faster it gets, like anything. Of learning something. So and it's quite funny because obviously the people around me are still in those kind of mindsets, so they find it very difficult to get me or to see where I'm at, other than the people who are obviously in our profession who've got a deeper knowing or deeper understanding.
It's kind of confusing to them that you're an author now and a psychotherapist.
And well, if anything, I think it shocked them to hopefully it'll inspire them to start to, to look at their thoughts and their process, and actually see that I'm a sister, I'm the daughter, this, that if I can achieve this, then what can they achieve? And where they are.
A wonderful opportunity for your family. Challenging as well, but a real opportunity. And I can see a colleague just wondering whether there's things that you do now in your life to take care of yourself, to and to manage and to help you to continue to thrive. Really.
Completely. I would every time I'm very in tune with my emotion again now. I would say I moved away from it obviously when I was younger because I was hiding it. So by going back to study, it was showing I had a safe place in order to reconnect with those emotions, and I became aware that I wasn't, even though I was feeling the emotions inside and could pick up on other people's emotions, I wasn't able to express them because I'd closed down that much, of being from the experiences. That obviously I was becoming back in tune with my emotion and being more balanced. That now, what I find for me, and this is my process, is as soon as if I'm feeling angry or frustrated, straight away I know there's a thought behind that. So straight away I sit with myself and I go, right, what am I thinking? I wonder why. So I get really gently with myself. I wonder why I'm feeling angry, frustrated, whatever. Look at my thought and what experience it links to. So say if somebody's had an interaction with me and I'm feeling angry from that interaction, I'll straight away start with myself. I'm feeling angry. I wonder why I'm feeling angry. Where does that sit with me? And I'll process it back, and then I'll look to them. I wonder why why they've said that. Where are they? And empathise with them, which helps me build my self-awareness so that I have control of how I interact with that person, because I've got then more control, and I understand of where I'm at. And it is a process though, so it's slow to start off with. But it gets faster and faster and faster the more you do it, and the more you can keep sitting with yourself.
That sounds like such a powerful and helpful strategy. Like the more you know what's going on in you, then the more choices you have about how you respond.
And not only that, but with honesty as well. So you can be more honest. You're not frightened to express, because the language changes. So I find that my language has changed because I'm not attacking back. If I'm not aware of this emotion, this anger, then my interactions is going to be with an attack. It's going to come with something, and then it's going to build there again. So for me, it's like playing ping pong. You know, if one person is more self-aware than the other, they can stop the ping pong. They can look at it, analyze it, see where it is, and then drop it or challenge, but gently, lovingly challenge the other person to see where they're at as well, which is like sort of a duplication really within counselling. It's exactly the same sort of thing, you know.
Well, I was going to ask you that, like in terms of your experience, I wonder, like, is it giving you an insight into your client work, like your own particular experience, that maybe some things that are a bit counterintuitive for colleagues could be a bit surprising?
Yeah, I find the more I understand me and understand my emotions and my thoughts of where and I am, so the more self-aware I become of me, the more I can pick up faster in clients possibly where they were. Because for me, it's like, even though the experiences of life and everything else is different, do you know what I mean? If I've got a client who's being sexually abused, then their experience of it is completely, will be completely different to mine. Because we all process differently, we're all individuals, and emotions will be, I could cut my finger, you could cut yours, I could be crying my eyes out and it's thinking, and you could be like, oh, I've just cut my finger. So how we feel and how we interpret it is individual. So for me, it's so important that I stay with that individual. Not the more I understand me, the more I'm not going to bring any judgments or any conceptions of, well, it's because of this, because I understand that I needed to understand my process, so therefore they need to understand them. They need to figure themselves out as much as and the only person that could heal me was me. So I now know the only person that can heal my client is my client. I have tools, that I can show and say, well, what about this? Would that suit you? Are you more that way? What about this for that client? And also that's empowering, so empowering for that client, because they've probably never experienced that before. Yeah. Other people have probably told them what they should be doing, and they should move this way and they should do that. And again, which is depowering them.
Yeah,
it's
that
not
makes
building
sense.
them up.
Yeah. And we were talking a little bit just before we come on to the event about like how important it is in a way, like we as practitioners, especially around self-harm, where maybe we're meeting a client who has experienced a lot of trauma, we might become fearful.
Yeah.
And like the impact of that on the client.
Yeah, we were saying the more obviously that you acknowledge your own fear and admit your own fear and think I am fearful, the more again you've become self-aware. So that emotion, because you're aware of that emotion, it's not necessarily going to come out in your interaction. So therefore, if a client, if a client picks up on that, so I was saying about that with my mum, I could talk to my mum an awful lot about my experiences and everything else, but she was obviously experiencing in her own trauma from a daughter experiencing this. If I could feel her pain, it would close me down, because it would be a duplication of my pain. As if she couldn't cope with that, then I can't share it. So it is about us, for me, understanding our own emotions and our own fears, and the more we can understand them, I find my process, the more I can let go. I'm less fearful. I'm less angry. I'm not thinking, because I understand it. So therefore, the emotion it fades away, so that I'm able to sit with them and in that emotion as well.
That sounds so helpful, Sharon, because it can, just as you're describing that, I can see that kind of going round and round where the fear increases and increases. But like, if we're able to hold that as a practitioner, if we're able to calm ourselves and like know that we can be supportive, then that can also help calm our clients, and then we can do some good work together.
Yeah, definitely. And you couldn't, there's for me, it's a balance into of what we're doing out there, but what we're doing internally to ourselves as well. Do you know what I mean? I think the self-care is so important as practitioners, and not to get trapped in that thinking that we shouldn't, that we should be okay. We shouldn't be feeling this because we should be okay. We should be actually. We need to keep having counselling. We need to keep having supervision. Because for me, the way I see it is like our brains are a bit like a computer. The the programs that put into a computer are like life experiences. So the more we're having experiences, which is obviously clients and different traumas and different things or anything like that, that we're experiencing it from them, the more we need to download. Because if we don't download, we'll crash.
Yeah,
exactly the same.
Our systems will crash. For sure. I was talking about this very thing with a colleague earlier today about how much supervision and therapy I need. It's like the more work that we do, the more contact we have. Like we need better taken care of, for sure. And that it can be a real, we can almost expect ourselves and each other to be perfect because we're therapists. Yeah, exactly.
I think the power of the title can sometimes close people down. If you attach too much to that power, of the title, but you're still a human being. And we're human beings that feel, think, so we do need our download. And not only that, but we're going to be better therapists. We're going to be better psychotherapists. We're going to be better with our clients. The more internal work we do with ourselves, the more we can be there in a more therapeutic way with our clients completely.
Well, and I'm sure the colleagues that are listening live or in the library can really relate to the pressure we can put ourselves under to be okay. And sometimes we're having a bad day or week or month or longer even. And just to kind of be open to that in ourselves, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all can get sort of trapped in thinking that we need to be this certain way now. We've got this title, or we think, people are going to judge us a certain way, and people do perceive us a certain way. With my friends, when I was going through the trauma with my ex, and I was like, I feel alone. That nobody's. Oh, I'm sorry, you're a psychotherapist, so I thought you'd be okay. I am human.
Exactly. Well, let's really try and, like, as a community of colleagues, I guess, not do that to each other. And know that we're human and we need support. Yeah. That's a perfect example, isn't it, in your friends? Yes. We've only got about 10 minutes left. I wanted to come really back to that theme about self-talk. And if you've got a client who's really sinking into their negative self-talk, I wonder if you've got some things that you might do with a client who's
obviously I would suggest different things of, like, obviously diary writing, looking, writing things down, not drawing. So drawing what for feelings first. I would connect with the feeling, and then wonder what's behind that feeling, what thoughts, what's connected there will help. I think the language, we can get stuck in the language of of how it comes out, that using different creative stuff in different mediums, what relates to the client though, because obviously not every client will be able to just write it out or draw it out. And not only that, we're really frightened as well, because obviously they're closed in for a reason, because they don't feel safe. So it is about timing and and building that safetyness up with that client.
Like, this is all, like, different clients need different things and have different kinds of strengths, I guess. But it sounds like you're saying for the client to find a way to express the negative self-talk. Is that right?
Yeah. Because once it's out, it's less powerful. So once you can see it, it's less powerful for as in my experience and for what I see with clients. It's not, once it's in there and it's stuck in there, it's getting stronger and stronger, because straight away we're not aware of it. It's very rare. Or we might be a little bit aware of it, but we're not really aware of the impact it's having on us. Whereas when it comes out, it's less powerful. We're seeing it, and actually, it can be then challenged. So it becomes challenged by us as practitioners, or it can be challenged by the client themselves. Do you know what I mean? In order to challenge that, and also gently challenge it, but also see where does it link? Where does it fit? Where is it being taken from? And when I find that that people have understanding of where it's been born from, it resonated from an experience, or childhood or wherever, it really undoes the work.
Yeah. Like, because in a way, when it's just stuck inside us, it can feel like an absolute truth. Like, whatever we're thinking, this is absolutely true. But when we realize, oh, this has been given to us
And
somehow,
it's,
yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't need to be ours. It doesn't need to be our thoughts. Do you know what I mean? Our thoughts can change,
Yeah.
but the more we become aware, the more we become self-aware of what we are thinking, because it gives us self-control to do that internal work. And it's hard to do. I find it's hard to do just sitting with yourself internally.
Yeah.
To write it out, to express it out, to to bake it out. Do you know what I mean? To bake something that resonates with you. To draw, to got people use the gym. Different things, different ways. To see ourselves within it, and whatever we're doing, and wherever we're moving, helps us to keep building the self-awareness.
Well, I think it's really helpful to think about that process. Like, when it's in us, it's more powerful when we express it. It loses its power, and then it can also be challenged. And that investigation, where's it come from? Where have I picked this up? But that can also be, that's not an easy journey to find those. Like, I mean, for you to like make that link with the things that your dad had said, with all the best intentions, like, that takes a bit of searching to find those things.
It does, yeah, it does, and it can be frightening to do it by yourself. That's why I think they do believe that a safe person, who you do feel safe with, to bounce off. The process is easier and it's faster, and the process is faster as well.
Yeah, because the other person's not lost in our world; they can see maybe more accurately somehow.
And the batting, and it's going to stop that. Those other negative thoughts of like, oh, it's me. You know what I mean? I'm weird. I'm this. Because if they're saying, I can see that too, then you're not weird, are you? You know what I mean? You've got a double power, really, in that somebody else is seeing what you're seeing, as well, which helps to do a process that you are what you are doing is is right and is good, and it is helpful as well. But I do find that when you are in that depthness of despair, and the thoughts are so deep, and being stuck in it, it is very difficult for people to reach, and to get there. But for me, I look back and I always ask myself, what could people have done? When I was at the deepest despair, what could people have done in regards to of how stuck I was in my own head? And I think it is about us being open and honest, about our feelings and about our story and who we are as well. Because if somebody had showed me their feelings, then I'd have felt safe to show my feelings. If somebody had showed me their story and their truth, then I'd have felt safe enough to show me my truth. Do you know what I mean? So I think it is about as all, if we can open up even that little bit more, and not to be afraid to open up.
I'm so glad you're saying that to us, like, because I think we can go into panic. What can I do? We can see the person's lost in a very, very deep place, but to be a real person who's struggling with real feelings also.
Yeah, and to voice that, to bring it, because again, it's saying the thing that we can't say, but we can say, but we're frightened to say. But actually, usually from that can open up so much. So it opens doors.
Well, and as a therapist, do you say a little bit of your story as part of that process? Like how, I mean, it's a big question for therapists, isn't it? How much do we say of ourselves?
Yeah.
And at the same time, be a real person with real feelings. Do you have some thoughts about what's worked for you with your clients?
I think all the things that I do share, I know where I've been and I know where I am with it all. Do you know what I mean? And then there's bits that maybe I don't know, and I'll share a little bit of that with a client as well, depending on who that client is, where they are. I mean, there's lots of different things. Do you know what I mean? Of what I would and wouldn't do, depending on the situation or where we're at.
Yeah.
But for me, it's about being completely real. When obviously you need to have the self-awareness that it is about the client, not yourself. you know, but I think it is the honesty and the openness. It's a duplication again. You know, the more that we are open, the more that we are honest, the more then that client will feel safe enough to be open and honest again.
Yeah. Yeah. And the role of our own therapy, it sounds like you're saying, I'm not sure if this is right, but like, because you know your own story so well, you can take a little bit of that and offer it to the client without it becoming about you.
Yes. And actually, to share, to say, so it's a process of like I've just done now with you guys. Do you know what I mean? So basically of saying, you know, I will have a feeling and then I know it links to a thought and I know it thing is, and this is my process. But if you see that in yourself, take it. You know, we'll take it and do the same thing. If it doesn't. So it is like sort of saying, I know this is my own process. However, I'm sharing it. And if you can see you in it and and that's something that you could do, then take it. Because this is what's happening with me.
Well, as you're saying that, I can see it. Like, if I was your client and you're saying, oh, this is what works for me, I could think, oh, I could try that. Or it's not quite, but I can do something similar and it'll be just right for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Because what it does as well, I think it opens our minds up to think. So it's a little bit like, I see it as, you know, when you're a child and then an older child comes along and they tell you this game to play. Yeah. So we all say, well, let's play this game. And then you start to get ideas of changing that game or making it a bit more funner. So then another child will go, oh, well, let's add this in now. Let's do that. And then another child will go, no, let's do this. Let's do that. So it's that sort of process. So here's what I do. Modify it, move it around. Do you know what I mean? Does it fit for you? Or I'm emotional first and then thought, or are you thought and then emotional and then behave? Do you know what I mean? And that's look at it and modify it and see. So I think the more we share, the more then it opens again more doors. Yes. Or people can think, you know, and go, oh God, yeah, I can do it that way, or I'm going to do it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I love the way that you've described that, and it's just so natural. That it's just, this is how we work as humans, isn't it? You can see it and play. You know, and as adults, when we get really creative, that's often what's happening. We're taking an idea, we're building on it, and we could do that with our clients too. Fantastic.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think the more that we communicate, the more that open we are, the more honest we are, the more we can interlink other stuff. Yeah, do you know what I mean? And bring in other things and actually go, oh my God, it's a little bit like going into a sweet shop and you can only see in your mind, because you're stuck in your mind, you can only see 3 different types of sweets. And once you start to open that mind, do you know what I mean? And your emotions and everything else, actually that sweet shop is full of different sweets that we could be using. But we've like sort of limited ourselves. I think the more we develop as adults, not to use these creative things, not to use, you know what I mean? We shouldn't play. But we all do play still because we all drink alcohol. So that's sort of playing, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
At least, and, you know, having time off, really. So, yeah, thinking using and open the mind up to use different things, not to be afraid to use different things.
Yeah. Oh, Sharon, our time has come and gone so quickly. That's an hour gone already. I want to say thank you for coming and talking so openly about your experiences and the things that have really been so helpful for you.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's been great. And to be able to translate that into things that we can do with our clients also, like really practical things. So I'm thinking about stuff that would be useful for me and the clients I work with, and I'm sure the colleagues who are online with us are doing the same also. I want to say thanks to everybody who's joined us live or who's been here with us in the library. Thank you for your presence. Sandra is just posting into the chat room the resource guide for this hour that contains the links to Sharon's books. So sure you want to click through to the resource guide and have a look at those links too. And if you're watching in the library, just scroll down the page and you'll see the link to the resource guide there too. And Sharon, it sounds like you're busy working on a 3rd book. So yeah, I'm sure colleagues will be really interested to know when that's around and available too. So yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Sharon. Till the next time we can be together, we'll say goodbye for now.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.